public session order. We have one action coming out of executive session. Resolution 2015 DOE 22. Be it resolved that the board hereby authorizes its president to issue the board's decision dated September 2nd, 2015, in a student discipline appeal regarding student number 614438, as presented to the board at this meeting. A copy of said decision shall be incorporated by reference within the minutes of the meeting. So moved. A second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. We have now reached the portion of the meeting for public participation. If you'd like to address the board at this juncture, please step up to the microphone and speak into the microphone for the benefit of our viewers at home. So, yeah, we can all hear you. Oh, please go green. Now can you hear me? Anybody would like to address the board at this point? You have 2 minutes. Mr. Turner will let you know when you're approaching 2 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you for the last board meeting for requesting the 30-day extension period for the Building a Better Broadway project comment period. I was disappointed when the City of Kingston decided to only extend the comment period by 2 weeks until this coming Friday. Many parents are just returning from vacations and are overwhelmed with getting kids ready for school and probably have not heard about the project, let alone been able to submit comments. My initial concerns submitted for the project centered around the loss of half of the parking between Pine Grove Avenue and East Chester Street, including the parking directly in front of Kingston High School. There were 3 areas of concern: parking for large events, being able to park close to the entrance for people who might be concerned about safety around the high school, and parking at drop-off and dismissal times. Mr. Slack, the project planner, mentioned that the Board of Ed is going to be speaking with him on September 16th, and so I hope that you will consider these additional concerns because the formal comment period will be closed by that point. Additional concerns that parents have raised are implications of 2 construction projects, both Kingston High School and Broadway at the same time, and the impacts around traffic around Kingston High School. Mr. Slack is proposing the reopening of the Crescent Drive in front of the high school for a student drop-off and pickup, and I thought I was concerned for reasons other than just post-Sandy Hook security, including access to the fire lanes. Will the high school students be encouraged to ride bikes to school? If so, where will they park their bikes, and who will instruct on bike safety while on the bike paths and crossing Broadway and using the new traffic signals, which are included in the bike turns that are signals that are part of the project? Also, just general enforcement of the bike traffic rules. You know, it's not the district's property, but impacts of accidents right outside the high school are going to have the same impact of off-property fights. I understand the benefits of bike riding, even though I'm not a rider, but are there ways that other solutions we can come up with to meet the needs of everyone? And I'd like to end with this question. If a project presents so many issues for the members of the Kingston City School District to overcome, can the project really be good for the City of Kingston?
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to address the board? Please come forward. So we'll move on to approval of minutes. Can we move them all together? Okay. Approval of minutes from July 1st, July 15th, July 21st, and August 19th. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
No discussion, any amendments or corrections here? All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes from July 1, 15, 21, and August 19, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Paolino for the superintendent's report.
Just to go, I want to go off the agenda from our report for a second, just to speak a little bit about what Ms. Saffron just spoke about. I did meet with members from the city as well as the county regarding the project on Broadway. I've been that's how we arranged them to bring a presentation to the board, because I think it's important that you see what the plan is. I mean, I know there's been some things in the paper, and I want you to be able to see it, so they're willing to do that. They've also offered the school district to have a seat at the planning team, the TAC, I think they're, whatever it is. So I've accepted that invitation. So although the comment period is ending in 14 days, I will take comments throughout and bring them back. So I'll be communicating with our parents throughout this time. And I do want to thank Joe and Maria for bringing me up to speed on the project last week after I first kind of heard about it. So I will serve as that kind of conduit between our district, and the city, so we can make sure that our concerns are truly heard.
Mr. Schein.
Well, I wanted to bring this up under old business, but I can talk about it now, if that's okay. I got a phone call from Tom Polk, who is on the board of the YMCA and is in charge of their biking education program. Wanting to know, I had seen him actually a month or so ago along with Mr. Slack at the farmer's market one Saturday morning, where I got the first look at it. I didn't pay a lot, I didn't see a lot of attention to it. But then the day or two after our last meeting, it was in the Freeman that they were extending the comment period until tomorrow. Has that been changed again?
No, that's it.
So I don't know that, I don't know if the district is not going to be, if we don't have a comment to present tomorrow, I'm going to make my own comments about it tomorrow, because I'm not in favor of, I think it's a very ill thought out plan, especially as it impacts the high school. Because my understanding is that the bike lane will be on the north side of Broadway, on the City Hall side of Broadway. Then there's going to be a 3-foot buffer zone. Then there's going to be parking, a parking lane, and then 2 lanes of traffic that will, so the eastbound lane of traffic will be right against the side, right against the curb of the high school. So we have 2,000 kids coming out of the building. I pointed out to Mr. Polk that we had an accident last year across at Dunkin' Donut there on Cedar Street, where one of our students bolted out and changed direction and bolted and was hit by a school bus. There won't be any buffer between the sidewalk and moving traffic, for one thing. I don't know where there will be adequate parking for pickup and drop-off. I don't know where there will be bus stops. I mean, what happens to traffic if there's what are they going to do with buses on Broadway? There's only 2 lanes of traffic. Where are buses going to stop? What if there's an emergency? How are emergency vehicles going to get through 2 lanes of traffic? It just seems to me to be very ill thought.
Well, there's a lot of good questions. We have a presentation scheduled for, I guess, the calendars, which doesn't help the comment period, but we do have a presentation scheduled for September 16th meeting, and they will be here.
Well, I understand that, but I'm still going to make my own comment because I've thought about it. I don't think that they can come and say what they want about it. It's not going to change if this is what they're going to present. It's still not a reasonable program. And then I just don't know how many, I never see anybody biking to school, especially high school students.
Tom said maybe he sees a bus, a bike or two up, outside the nurses' entrance or something like that. But certainly there's not large numbers of students bicycling to school, and I don't think that's going to change.
I think that the comment period, like I said, is tomorrow, but with the seat at the table of the planning team gives us a continued opportunity, plus their presentation gives us, I don't think it's a, I think I agree with Jim that on many of those points, I think that if we have individual comments that people want to put in prior to that, that the deadline absolutely should. But I think that the one thing I want to put in on the planning, what is, get that seat at the table so I can represent the concerns of the board as well as the concerns of our parents.
And I also think it's a little bit unsettling that they would go ahead with these plans and not include the school district in the plan. Not seek our comments as the school district, because we're definitely impacted by it, severely, drastically impacted by it, or significantly impacted by it, depending on how you want to view the plan.
That was communicated when I met with them. So clearly communicated that I was discouraged, disappointed about that.
Were we going to release a board comment? I mean, I commented as a Kingston City
resolution.
But yeah, but we weren't, because I commented as a Kingston City resident, someone who lives off Broadway and takes 15 minutes to get from downtown to uptown house, but I didn't think we were going to comment as a whole as a board.
I think one of the other things that was brought forward in my meeting with them is, although the comment period is over, it's what comment period is over, it doesn't mean they're not, the next day, they're not moving forward and the trucks aren't rolling in. And the plan itself isn't even due until next year. So, they wouldn't start any type of work there. So, while the comment period is ended, Mr. Kimball's always here, and so our comments will clearly be noted regardless of the comment period, and the community and the city and the county will hear board comments as we make them. And again, on top of that, having part of the planning process will also give us that voice.
And so you'll report back to us about
Absolutely.
your participation on the board? Thank you.
Any questions about that? We will go back to it under old business if you're ready. We'll do a presentation next meeting. Do you want to continue with the superintendent's report?
The only other thing I have in the superintendent's report was just kind of give you a quick rundown of things coming up. Obviously, as you know, September 8th is our first day of school. Today was our first day for our teachers. We had a full day of professional development, and I do want to compliment our faculty and staff and compliment them ahead of time for tomorrow because it is warm. And much of what we're doing is in large groups, whether it be in an auditorium or a gymnasium. So they were troopers today, and they came in and they were focused and they were getting ready for the school year. We had a fantastic, powerful, very timely presentation at the high school, in partnership with the Bardavon, that we wrote a grant together to bring a one-man show, Rhapsody in Black, to the high school, which was, I think most of the administrators were there, most of the central administrators were there to see it also. It was a very powerful, diversity-based subject area, one-man show. It was phenomenal. They did a great job, and I look forward to opportunities to partner with the Bardavon in the future. A lot of good feedback from our teachers on that. So that's really our teachers the next 2 days. They'll be working in this heat, getting ready for our students to come in on the 8th. Tomorrow, at late afternoon, at the Syracuse Carrier Dome, our KHS football team will be at the Kickoff Classic. So that's a nice way to start the football season. Hopefully we can end the football season there as well, because that's where the state championships are played. All the Kingston City School District sports tryouts, modified sports including football, field hockey, soccer, cross country, they're all taking place also on the 8th. September 11th is the first Kingston High School football game at home against Washingtonville here at Deet Stadium, 7 o'clock. Organizational meetings for students at Kingston High School will be headed to the World Summit and the Nobel Peace Laureates. It's going on the 11th. Again, the 18th, another home football game. We're lucky we have some early home football games this year. Kingston High School College Fair is on the 29th. Don't scramble writing this down, because I'll have this all up there for you. And just looking a little bit further ahead, October 2nd for your planning will be our homecoming parade and our homecoming football game for homecoming weekend. Won't be quite as exciting as last year for the 100th anniversary, but it was the 101st, so it's back to school nights are already set. Chambers back to school night will be the 29th. Crosby's will be the 30th. Meyer will be September the 15th. George Washington's going early. They're going to do tomorrow. They'll have their open house, which is traditional. George Washington always tries to have it before the students come in as part of almost like an orientation. Graves will be on the 15th. John F. Kennedy will be on the 30th. Bailey will be on the 17th. And the 24th of September will be Miller Middle School, and Kingston High School's back to school night is on October 1st, so they're going to go a little later. So it's just kind of a snapshot of things going on. Kate's been working to make sure she's getting everything up on the website. This September to December is kind of our busiest time of year for events until June. So I will keep you posted and make sure that the website is up to date. And we're excited to start the school year. We have a couple of new things. One new program that I mentioned to the board that we're excited about is the YMCA pilot wraparound at the Edson Elementary School. And we are still looking really in good shape as far as our K-1-2 class sizes and our special permissions. So again, it's one of those things where everyone has a plan and then the kids show up. So we'll see what happens next week. But right now we feel pretty good about where we are as far as our class sizes and our special permissions. I said every student who asked for special permission, who had their application in on time, was granted special permission. So we're pleased we're able to do that. That's the end of my report.
Questions?
What is the kindergarten all about?
I don't have the total number of kindergarten enrollments. What I wanted to do is, on the 16th, I wanted to give the board, last meeting the board had asked for by section and by grade, which is what I'd like to give the board on the 16th, but I'd like to get them in the buildings first. So it's not a prediction, it's what we see, what we count.
We'll have that next week.
You'll have that next week, yes.
I know last year we had a huge influx a week before kindergarten registrations. That was the fluke last year?
No, that was a regular occurrence. I mean, that's kind of how we did it. This year, I think Mr. Burge and his team have done a great job. They went out, 2 days out. One day, one of our biggest issues was Chambers. For some reason, we had a lot of late registrations from Chambers. So we did a full day at Chambers. Mr. Burge and Mrs. McGraw, our registrar, they went out there and did the Chambers, and they did another, and anyone from the district could come, but the Chambers obviously is there. And it was also a day at high school where we registered over 100 students in those 2 days. So I think bringing it out to people got them into a little sooner. We're going to have, tomorrow, we're going to have people. There were people in the hallway today, but not like what I saw last year, not even close. Last year was scary.
Any other question? Dr. Pavlina? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any resolutions that board members would like pulled from the consent agenda?
B36 through B40, the
30
awards.
B36 through 40, and that's it?
There's five bid awards, I believe, is that right?
Yes. Correct. Anybody else? Mrs. Lau?
BOE 17,
BOE 17,
B35,
B for P,
B as in boy,
B, thank you, 35,
and P as in Penny, 36.
36, okay, thank you. Any others? Okay, I'll entertain a motion. Yeah, any others? This is already seen, okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept consent agenda minus B36 through 40, BOE 17, B35, and P36.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of consent agenda minus the resolutions I just listed, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, one, two, one at a time. Beginning with B35. Summer transportation contract emergency.
I'll move it.
Okay. A second?
Second.
All right, discussion.
So there's was an emergency transportation contract for 30 days for $11,000. Is that just the contract fell through, or?
No, that's a new actually, I'll ask Mr. Austin, I believe that was a new student who was identified as needing transportation to a CSE meeting.
To a CSE meeting?
Through.
Through, okay.
Not to.
That was a nice transport, okay.
Well, it's not an emergency in the sense that it was
I just,
a red light flash. You know, it had to be done on the spur of the moment, so.
okay. It just said emergency, so it seems.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of B35, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And B36 through 40, I'll entertain a motion. All together.
Second.
Discussion. These are bid awards for the next section of the HS capital project. Mr. Schoen.
Well, do we know which of these are union contractors that are awarded the winning bids and which are open shop contractors? I know that Jerson received two of them, and they're a union shop, is that right?
Yeah, the reason, in talking to mostly, well, primarily Robin Scorbanis at BBL, she has indicated and made clear to me that when these people bid, they, you know, an overall union shop may employ, although they probably wouldn't, non-union subs, just like an open shop may employ union subs. So she thought it best that if we really wanted to know who, you know, where the money was going in these projects, that it'd be best to wait and get certified payrolls and do sort of a thorough analysis of this before we just sort of, you know, made the estimates that we've been making up till now. Because she sort of said that those estimates are probably somewhat inaccurate, in fact, could be quite inaccurate. So that was what she suggested, so that's why we've held off in providing the kind of sort of brief analysis that we did for the Fieldhouse project. And we'll provide, at the request of the board, that kind of analysis, probably starting with the Fieldhouse project, once we start to get certified payrolls in, when, I don't know when that'll be, obviously they're just starting, and then we'll do the same for each phase of this.
Well, I mean, I'm just curious as to, you know, which are the analysis that Dr. Carr did was that we were going to get a lot more, by not having a PLA agreement, we would get a lot more bids. You know, this is not a lot more bids than we received. Gerson, I believe, they're from Watertown?
Waterford.
Yeah.
Is that?
Albany area.
It's right next door to Albany.
If I could just add, on this matter, I passed out a document during the break, which provides an analysis that BPL did of the bids that we're accepting on the project versus their estimates for what the bids would be. And if you'll notice on the bottom of the second page of that the bids came in about $3.8 million below. Sorry.
Yes, below, yeah.
below what was estimated. So if you combine that with the results of the field house bidding, which I think was 500 and some thousand below also. So for these two rounds, where, that would obviously sum to about 4.3 million. So that's a good sign so far.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of D 36 through 40, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? BLE 17. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I have a couple questions, I think. Is this like just a yearly contract? Yearly?
Yeah.
And so they got their last one last
Yes.
every year? we
They
do?
have a non-aligned go year to year as far as their, increases or changes in the policies, They're not a bargaining unit.
Right. So the policy is attached, so
There are other changes in the policy, but that indicates that anybody who came into the new position after July 1 would have to.
right.
Anybody who came into their position, not aligned, DOE 17, after July,
June 30th.
I'm sorry, after June 30th, would not be receiving a raise at this point because they were just promoted. Any other questions about that? All right, all those in favor of DOE 17, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah.
And abstentions? P36. I'll entertain a motion with P36. Okay, discussion.
I just had a question about the fourth, be it resolved, the My Learning Plan instructors, what My Learning,
What am I going to
yeah.
what it is?
Yeah, it probably could be better worded to say in-service instructors. The MLP, or My Learning Plan, is the software that we use to manage that. So these are recommended candidates who have proposed to offer in-service programs for our staff this fall.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of P36, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And our consent agenda brings us to Board of Education. The first thing on the agenda tonight for Board of Education is the board goals, and you should have a draft document that was in your board packet. Mr. Shaughnessy, Reverend Jacobowitz, that I met the day after the last audit finance committee, correct? It was right after the finance committee meeting, and I've drafted goals that are aligned with the superintendent and district goals. So, I would like to open up the floor for discussion. So, yes, Mr. Shaughnessy.
I would like to postpone this until the next board meeting. We have two board members not here, and also comments that Dr. Jacobowitz made that I think, reflect what I thought we had talked about at that.
Okay, but, well, then maybe I'll pass this out, okay. Dr. Jacobowitz commented on this, I forwarded them to her. Most of the wording that she suggested in terms of revisions was incorporated, so I'm going to pass this direction. In addition to that.
I'm sorry, what was recorded?
Yeah. It's okay. All right. Accompanying it, this year we have an annotated board calendar, which is in draft form right now. Which goal do you have the question about here? Because most of the wording that Dr. Kovowitz had forwarded was incorporated here. The only difference is number 5. Is that one?
Well, when we had the discussion, we had set goals for, we had discussed various meetings or dates that, milestones that we, mileposts that we.
Okay, can I explain this first? That might answer your question. When Dr. Kovowitz responded to the initial draft, she said she didn't feel that we needed the dates in there that were on the superintendent's of the district calendar. That they would be, they would just happen quarterly. Essentially, it's not a direct quote from her. But I took the goals that we discussed, one of which was having a public forum to discuss the budget initially, and actually have something scheduled before that. So you all want to take a look at this. In September, we have the legislative guide for this evening, but then we have a presentation on Build Better Broadway. If you skip to October, you'll see budget essentials of developing a budget, superintendent, deputy superintendent, business, human resources, treasury, and deputy treasurer will be doing a presentation to the entire board about how they construct a budget, followed by a public budget discussion, the date to be assigned. So, and that was by invitation and open to the public, correct?
Right.
Okay. So October, I thought, was when we had discussed that taking place.
I believe so.
Okay. Then we have, on the 18th of November, the first quarterly report on progress towards the goals, an update on UPK and Smart Schools funding. And the first quarterly report on progress towards the goals includes the board goals too. So we'll be taking temperature of the board and their progress towards the goals quarterly at least. Does that address a concern about not having a date in there? And then we've started with the policy committee, the discussion on restorative justice. And I know we're going to have a meeting before the end of the month, right? Okay. And then we would have a presentation because there should be work that's pretty much.
This isn't, this was just set aside on that date. I mean, so we have, okay.
Yeah. So I figured that would give you time to work on it. The second quarterly report would take place, and that includes the superintendent district and board goals on the 20th of January. And then in February, after we have some preliminary news from the state, the board priorities discussion there in February. Was that, correct me if I'm wrong, that was my understanding, that it would take place in February before we had a draft budget.
Sorry.
It's not to say that the priorities for the budget would take, that discussion would take place at the board level public meeting in February before we had a draft budget.
Well, I thought that the board discussion, I thought the conversation we had at our 3-member committee was that in October we would have the public forum.
We have that.
We would have
we would invite people to come, it would also would be open to the public. The purpose of that was to get concerns from the public as to their concerns or what they would like to see developed in the budget for the 2016-2017 budget.
Yeah.
And then in November, I thought that that's when we were going to begin discussing the board priorities well before February.
Well, that's when we have our update on UPK and the Smart Schools Fund. Would you want to do it before that?
Well, that's part of it, I mean, but that's, you know, but that's the discussion about, I mean,
Well,
the
we all-
discussion of the board is what board priorities are, so that that can be incorporated, because the administration is not going to wait until February to begin the budget discussion, their budget preparation. So if the board wants to have an impact on any new programs, or, I mean, we need to get that to the administration, you know, before December. I mean, that was the discussion that we had.
Okay, on the back there are 2 notes. Said there will also be budget forums held in addition to the first, should read first, public discussion in October. So you want to assign it to a date. Now, on the 20th of October, and I'm sorry, this is not on here, this is an update, and this is just a draft at this point, so we're going to update draft. On the 20th of October, we're having a presentation on the plan for Mohawk.
This, the
20th of
convention,
October.
are we at the convention?
Are you going to be gone?
Are we at the
Sorry,
convention?
20.
That's a
You're not-
Tuesday.
Wednesday. No.
The 20th is on a Wednesday,
So 20th.
28th. We don't have a meeting weekly.
Okay, and that's a typo,
28th.
28? Yeah? Okay, the 28th. Is the Mahar? So, Mr. Shaughnessy, you would like to have discussion, an initial discussion sometime in November?
Well,
Well,
when-
this is not going to be the first
Okay.
discussion.
So our board meetings in October are the 7th and 21st?
21st, so it'd be the 21st. Okay, sorry, the 21st. Okay. So the 21st is discussion of Mahar plan, that includes pre-K in there, followed by the update on UPK and smart schools in November. So knowing that, it looked like maybe that conversation was a little premature then. But
Well, I mean, I just want the rest of the board to know what our discussion was as to how we wanted this, how we wanted this budget goal to be implemented. And, you know, and it doesn't, it really, the goal as it's written really doesn't describe that in any
Well,
detail.
the discussion that Dr. Jacobowitz and I had, and I'm sorry if I didn't CC you in that particular, because we're going back and forth, said that I felt that our goal of just establishing priorities was a little narrow, and that what we needed to do was also discuss, so that all the trustees understand our constraints in formulating the budget, and certainly, that's discuss the board priorities, but also support the financial staff in their efforts to oversee and evaluate current methods of resource allocation. And our discussion of priorities certainly going to come in there. And equitable provided, hang on, let me get back, I'll read the whole thing. Support the superintendent's efforts in conjunction with the Board of Ed Audit and Finance Committee and the Deputy Superintendent of Business and Human Resources to oversee and evaluate the current method of resource allocation to ensure that each building is provided with equitable resources based on individual building, student, and faculty needs and Board of Education input. you want to change that to Board of Education priorities, that would be fine. But that's a discussion for everybody. Do you want to
My
change it?
reaction when I read this was that, is that this was very narrow. The one, everything is support the superintendent. Where is the responsibility that the board has to establish its priorities? And shouldn't that
You
be,
can put priorities in there.
shouldn't that be in the board goals? I mean, what is our role? Do we have a role other than, and this is a serious discussion. Does the board have a role other than supporting the superintendent?
Well, of course they do, but we also have responsibility to align our goals with district goals and superintendent goals. And if you want to change input to priorities, that's fine. Or prioritize board input, that's fine too. Why don't we open it up to the rest of the board members?
Well, is it just that, what I'm hearing is not just that one word of input, I'm hearing this, you're feeling this is pervasive throughout the roles. Am I correct in what I was hearing?
Why did you not comment?
I was on vacation.
Well, I asked you to comment by Thursday evening. I mean, I put it forward that.
I did not have access to it. I didn't have access. When I got back home, and I didn't have time to talk about it. I just saw it. So,
Well, open up the floor. Mrs. Collins.
I do agree with you, Mr. Shaughnessy, in that it's hard to write goals, and I just want to thank the committee that stepped up to do so, Dr. Chakowicz, you and Ms. Shearer. And a lot of it has to do with the wording. If anything, to me, they seem a bit broad, but they almost have to be. I know we always ask ourselves about SMART goals and are they measurable? But to address one thing that you had said, just the philosophical, is it our role to support? I would say it's definitely our role to support. And if you look, most of that starting verb in all of these are support, 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 and then we have review. And I think that's an important part of it too, thoroughly review. You know, those aspects that we can really look at and measure, and we have the expertise of our assistants as well to guide us. I don't know how else we might state that. In other words, to align with our goals as well. I think it's a good start, as Ms. Lau just said, to it as a draft. I understand your concerns about the budgeting, but maybe we could fine tune that word in goal 5. I wonder why equitable is bold. I know it's important, but it's the only word in there that is
Well,
bold, and it kind of bothers me.
definitely. Anyone else?
I thought they were pretty bold too, especially number 1, goal 1, support the development of new hiring practice for reviewing, which just seems what direction are we going in that of the hiring practices? I mean, how do we measure that we've attained?
Present us with the plan. Receive updates about hiring and recruitment when new practices are implemented. So they'll present us with a plan.
Well, that's part of
Implementation.
usually measurable, but I thought that one in particular was a little bit vague in using the word support development.
Do you have a suggestion?
Well, I guess it comes down to where are we trying to move forward in the development of that? Are we trying to, become more of a recruitment? I don't know, it seems like there's I was just interested in the discussion of what was the vision of that development, I guess. Doesn't it necessarily need to be in the goal, but there were a few questions like that came up throughout them. But I do think that it is our role to support the administration in doing their job. So I do like the use of the word support in your outcome.
Madam President?
Mr. Michael?
Yes, the last couple of years, one of our major goals was the 21st century plan for the high school, and it seems you were not addressing this at all in this goal. You know what I mean?
But, okay.
I believe it should be added, as another goal, that we'll be working diligently to make sure the project is going to go on, and finish on time and on budget. And so far, it's been working out, according to Mr. Olson.
Do you have any wording suggestions?
No, that's what I had in mind.
Giselle? Reverend Constant?
I feel that the, what we have here is pretty good. I think we should, number 5, that board, I would like to see board priorities there.
Okay.
But I think it is our duties and job to support the work of the superintendent.
Remove input and substitute priorities?
Yes, that's what I would like to do.
Okay. Mr. Shaughnessy, do you want the addition of dates, the benchmark dates in goal 5? Is that the goal that I think needs to be more specific? It is on the calendar.
I'm not prepared. Language, substitute. The rest of the board, this is fine. So,
Well, by putting dates into the goals, it seems like it becomes more of the methodology rather than the goal statement, it just seems to me.
Which is what Dr. Schmowitz
Yeah.
said. So with the addition of the calendar, with the dates plugged in for when we're going to receive the reports.
Well, putting the dates in my mind, framed the process and also made it measurable, which I don't see these being
How about
measured.
if we put a reference and a notation that said, see board calendar 2015-2016 and the date? Would that make you comfortable? Yes.
Perhaps I'm missing something there. What do these dates mean?
These are dates when we're going to have reports and presentations. Some of them are ones that the board will generate, some are ones the superintendent will generate, some are ones that will bring other people in to do the presentations. For instance, then when the next meeting, Build Better Broadway is going to be the planning board group. They're going to do a presentation. Budget Essentials will be district personnel. The restorative justice presentation, and probably get Mr. Clay and the policy committee, perhaps the Jefferson committee involved in that. And they're starting their preliminary discussion on the 11th of policy, and then on the 25th with Mr. Clay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so C, and we're going forward. 7? Yes.
So, this is obviously one of my first times drafting board goals, and I was under the impression that we are aligned, that the district sets their goals, superintendent sets their goals, and then we align with that. And in the district goals, we don't have anything about the high school project, but it does seem as though it is going to be a huge priority, so that's the only reason I didn't.
Well, when it was initially starting and when we get the referendum, I don't know if this will answer your question, or this is exactly what you're asking. And preparing for the referendum, that was a goal. Now all the blueprints for the initial phase are with the state ed department, and this is going to move along with the steering committee. There'll be, the reports up online with the steering committee minutes, and the construction firm and the architects will be giving us a report once a month. So that's something that's already been incorporated into the protocol here. So it probably doesn't need to be a vote
That's what
right
I was
now,
asking.
because we are monitoring it closely. Any other questions?
I understand that put that wording in, maybe it's in number 5, when we talk about buildings, and continue to monitor progress on the Second Century project. I don't know, I agree with Mr. Michael, it's such a huge undertaking that I put that on there, but perhaps it's a suggestion.
Do you want to add it to 5 or you want it in 8?
Either or, I mean, they're both rather lengthy, but I just thought since there we're talking about resource allocation in each individual building is goal 5, let's see, 8 is,
There's no
there's no 8. You mean add it as
Add
8?
it.
Yes. I was just, come on.
Add number 8.
Add the number 8.
I'm
Add number 8, okay.
Just a
Thanks,
suggestion.
Ms. Collins.
So, you want monitor progress on the HO's Second Century project?
Because I know is it on this calendar? I know that they've been very good, BBL and KSQ, about coming and giving us the reports. I just think it's nice to have that it's something that we're watching over, being
Okay,
mindful of.
so do you also want the summer projects in there? Make that all part of the
Yeah.
facilities call?
I guess it's just a general facilities goal would be.
Thank you.
Monitor progress on KHS Second Century project, all summer projects, and project maintenance projects can be completed in district. How's that? Is that all right? In district. So we changed input number 5 to read priorities, and then C, board calendar 10/7. Mr. Shaughnessy wanted to add discussion in November. What date? 14th or the 18th?
Probably,
Well, the 18th is the first, is the update on UPK. So you may answer some of that priorities.
You combine those there.
Combine what? Which one, which?
The 18th, can we combine those?
Yes.
That's gonna be a big, that'd be a piece of it, so that's what we'll do all of it.
And priorities?
And then budget priorities, and then
Okay.
your ballot.
All right, so we're adding to the calendar, the annotated calendar. First quarterly report on progress toward goals, update on UPK and Smart Schools Fund, and board budget priorities. On the 18th of
well,
November.
I mean, I don't think it's an update on board budget priorities. I mean, I think it's a discussion of board budget priorities, because we will not have that discussion.
So we'll make it
before
bullet.
that.
Madam President?
Yes.
I'm sure Mr. Shaughnessy will agree with me. The first budget forum to be the end of October, because we have the Budget and Finance Committee at 27th. So after October 21st, about the Mahara plans, we should have the Budget and Finance Committee.
Well, we will get the,
27th, so the
Yeah.
first budget forum should be done a few days later.
in November.
In October.
In October.
Well,
The public budget discussion.
Oh, the public
Yeah.
one, yes.
Our
We
meeting is
have
the
to-
27th,
So
No,
we
he
should
doesn't.
like to have that
After
public
the-
discussion.
after
before
our
the-
meeting,
After,
our Budget and Finance
After
Committee,
the-
if we have to make
or
any
before the
decision.
Finance.
No, after the
Saying
meeting.
after, so
If we
November.
make any decisions on the October meeting, it's
Okay,
October 27th, so.
all right. So in the week of 28th.
Thursday or Friday,
November. No. 6th, okay, somewhere in the week, the 26th through the 30th of October, that's when we would have the public forum
Correct.
on the public budget discussion. Yes?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
well, I would,
But he wants it
I suggest
after.
that we have it before the Audit and Finance Committee meeting, because otherwise, the Audit and Finance Committee, won't have an opportunity to discuss what
Okay.
may come out of that budget forum before we have the discussion with the board on the 18th.
okay, so then the week following,
I think the date that you have is, I think that
the sub, what do you
there
think?
is a good date, it gives us time to hear from the community, and then the audit and finance will meet later in the month, and we can have that good discussion there. I think that I think I agree with Mr. Schoenstein that we have the information, we have the discussion in audit filing.
On the 27th.
Well, so then maybe the public discussion sometime during the week of, what would it be, the October, the week of October 12th to
The
16th.
16th.
But if we're having an education session about essentially developing a budget,
On the 7th.
exactly, what couldn't we also advertise that as an opportunity for the public to comment afterwards?
You know, I think there's probably going to be a full discussion then, and then we have,
Can we publicize that we're going to be presenting about that, so if
oh,
people want to come
absolutely.
in here?
It'll be on the agenda.
Well, I mean, I think it was going to be a public discussion, and we'd have to have an opportunity for a discussion between the public and the board, which we don't have during the public comment.
No,
period.
she's asking if we could advertise that after that workshop on the 7th, we're going to have a public. So.
It makes
sometime-
sense that it might be too much in one
Yeah,
day, but I was just
yeah,
thinking if people
yeah.
were to come out for that and then.
Sometime the week between the 12th and the 16th. You comfortable with that?
Is that okay with you, Mr. Michael?
Yes.
See? Okay. All right. And you want to have another, we'll be having other budget votes that are not scheduled yet before February. Before February. But it was my understanding you want another opportunity before the draft budget is done to actually have some input. Am I understanding that? It reads, February board priorities discussion, February. That's the 18th.
Well, that's what I think ought to be, that ought to be. I mean, this is discussion of board priorities. If it's in February, the administration's going to have the budget done already.
Well, we wanted a discussion to maybe just, an opportunity to maybe have revised board priorities since possibly the smart schools and the Mahar presentation and the UPK update may very well answer some of our priorities. We may not want to reassign priorities.
I thought that was going to be a combination conversation on 11/18. The administration will report out on the progress towards, on the progress as far as the UPK, update on UPK and smart schools funding, but also in that same evening, having a conversation about board priorities for, and then we'll soon
Right.
speak again and as we work through the board priorities while crafting the budget in February, we can report out and have a further discussion.
We can have
on how
another
we-
discussion, an
how we-
updated discussion.
Well, yeah, I mean, in February, there's going to be, we will have a report on potential fund balance.
Yes.
We'll also have the governor's executive budget.
Right. And that was our discussion in the subcommittee that, by then we would have those things. Don't you want to have another discussion?
Yes, but I don't know I don't know why we'd use the word priorities. Yeah, I mean, I think the priorities come, earlier. The discussion of priorities, I mean, I think that would be a budget status discussion.
All right, we change it to budget status.
Because certainly we're not going to be introducing new priorities at that late date. I don't think.
Okay. So now we're up to, you can read this too. Support the superintendent's efforts in conjunction, this is 5, with the DOE Audit Finance Committee and the Deputy Superintendent for Business and Human Resources to oversee and evaluate the current method of resource allocation to ensure that each building is provided with equitable resources, mindful, based on individual building, student, and faculty needs and Board of Education priorities. See board calendar 10/7, sometime 10/12 through 10/16. We'll have the actual date when we done that up. 11/18, 2/28. So it's pretty much ongoing. Do we need the dates there? Do you feel that are the dates there? Dutch Co's fault, we didn't need them, but you want them there, that's good.
How about we just say in a timely, I just feel like, what if we cancel one because there's a conflict, I mean, when do we have to have these goals finalized by?
Well, I mean, I think that as long as we have an ongoing discussion of the board calendar, that, that referencing the board calendar
Yeah.
and reviewing the calendar on a regular basis as to what's going to be coming up at future meetings, I think handles that question of specificity in the board goals.
So do you want just a little annotation, just to refer to the board calendar? for
That's
each
why
one?
we suggested that.
Okay. Well, I suggested it for 5, but you want it for each of them?
Well, it doesn't have to be for each. Maybe that could be.
Can we make it a note at the end?
Yeah.
Okay, so this will be noted at the end. Okay. And I'd like to take 4 out of sentence 1 and number 7, encourage each trustee to pursue his or her own ongoing professional development, keeping abreast of issues facing the district, to be legislative developments, information provided by subcommittees of the board, and information provided in regular board packets, that Board of Education meetings are effective and serve the goals of the district. So I want to take 4 out, yes, on the first line. Yes,
I mean, that would be a good place to incorporate with, you know, what Mr. Shonin is saying about reviewing board calendar. If you put just places for that wording, that we're reviewing the board packet, you know, rather than having it in each goal.
Oh, I was going to include it as a notation of that.
So that would be like number 8.
For everything.
Number
Number
8
8 is
facilities.
monitor the progress on the KHS Second Century project, summer projects, and district maintenance projects, and maintenance projects completed in district.
So then number 9 would be review the board calendar on a regular basis too. Is that how you put it at the end? I don't know how you.
I was just going to do a notation at the end, is that all right?
That's fine.
I would agree that would not be a goal, just an asterisk,
Right.
just to see
It would
accompanying
apply to all of them.
ancillary calendar.
Reverend Cox.
Number 7, as it is, the very last sentence, maybe perhaps I'm nitpicking when I restart this, so that the Board of Education meetings are effective. Does that mean meetings have not been effective in the past?
No, I think it means so that they're more effective, because I believe in continuous improvement. I think it means we can always move towards excellence. Or more excellence. I wasn't criticizing. So, is there anyone comfortable making a motion to accept the goals as revised?
I'll make the motion myself.
A second? Okay, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. So I'll get them out to you, all the revisions annotated in the board calendar. Any comments about that? Do you like it, just like this?
Thank you for drafting.
Okay. Okay. NISBA convention. Is there anyone unprepared this evening to discuss resolutions, amendments to bylaws for the 2015 NISBA convention? Everybody have an opportunity to review it?
I did not, so that's it.
Okay. I sent out another, I'm probably gonna drive you crazy, mentioning, this is what I do with my children, unfortunately. I keep reminding them, don't forget, I told you to do this on the 25th and the 26th, right? So, I'm sorry, Mr. Shaughnessy, do you want to look on here with this?
No.
Okay. Are there any resolutions that NISBA has recommended that you think need to be amended? All of our amendments need to be in by September 9th, so this is your last chance to mail them in. After that, amendments can still be made from the floor of the convention. You'll have to write it when you enter the voting room. You'll have to write it and stand up and present it to the entire assembled body then, once we agree on any amendments. So, last chance to speak about amendments to bylaws or resolutions. They haven't included you guys. I have one question. About the proposed resolution number 8, which states that New York State School Boards Association support legislation that officially grants all public schools the same exemptions from New York State education law and or regulation which have been granted to any charter or public school. But in the rationale, it talks about 20%, up to 5 teachers, or 30% of the school's teaching staff, whichever is less, may be uncertified, which I wouldn't understand why that would be supportable.
It's about, really, that's about teacher shortages in other areas of the state, as well as the idea of smaller school districts assigning more teachers outside of their tenure area. It's not something that impacts us, but that's the root of that.
Okay, so that explains why they had, the article about teachers having to agree to teach outside of their tenure area. Okay. All right, I feel comfortable with that. Thank you for explaining that, because I did not understand that. Okay. All right. Yes.
I don't even know if this is appropriate, but I know in going through all of them, there seemed to be some really good things that they were putting forward, some things that we had discussed over, support for pre-K, et cetera. I was just curious, there were 3 of them, it looked like 21 through 23, that seemed to be targeting NISBA. I was wondering, actually written by New Paltz School Board, I was wondering if there were concerns of which we were not aware, or talking about foiling what their staff makes.
These are the ones that were not recommended for adoption.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, right. Okay.
And that's why.
That's why,
Yeah.
right. Thank you.
Why are these?
I didn't print it, because it was 4 pages,
NISBA?
I have one here.
Well, there was some controversy last year, but the explanation for why NISBA decided not to support this is that they, the first one was the Student Achievement Institute was a temporary program. So, okay. And in the second one, it had to do with accepting donations, which we do on a regular basis. I mean, people donate, so, okay. And the third one had to do, those are ones that you're referring to had to do with NISBA is a nonprofit private entity, not a state agency, a school district, or municipalities. So the committee believed that the association makes appropriate disclosures in annual reports, the treasurer's report, and other releases of information, so that they didn't, they're not violating anything. They still.
Thank you for that clarification.
And they give a full schedule of what they pay, in the beginning, when they're talking about the increase in dues.
Right.
Okay, the increase in dues, which they did support, should not be, they've got 2% or the change in the consumer price index, whichever is less, which is what the tax cap law says. And it doesn't make sense to allow them to increase it by more than that, because the budget can't increase by more than that. Is that?
Yes, thank you. probably should have asked for a copy, but it's hard to figure it out on here, it's 40 pages. But thank you, that'd be great.
No suggestions, okay. Entertain a motion to support proposed bylaw amendments and resolution that NISBA has elected to support.
So moved. Second.
Did you second?
Yes, I did.
Yes. Okay. Any further discussion? All right, which brings me to, a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you very much. Okay. We need to talk about the convention now. The convention, I will not be able to attend in New York City this year because my daughter's getting married. It's a good reason, but I'm sorry not to be there because you always do get a lot of good information there, especially the law conference. And we have several trustees going this year.
I'll be
Mr.
attending
Michael,
the,
I know Reverend Childs is going, Mrs. Lau, Mrs. Collins, Ms. Guido, possibly. Okay,
she finds her own.
all right. Dr. Jacobowitz, I'm not sure if she is, no, she is, okay. So we'll have Mr. Shaughnessy here. Okay, we will have 5 representatives, which brings me to, surprise, you're going to be held responsible for a report back to the board and to the public on the repercussions, well, not the repercussions. Here, I better read what I wrote the first time before I tripped over my tongue. Quarterly reports here. Report back to, implications for our district. Thank you very much. Not repercussions. From the workshops and the conference, the 10 law conference. Okay, so, and it's not until the 4th of November, so we have a couple weeks to get it. Okay, we need to have a delegate, and normally it is the person who has not served as delegate before, which would be Ms. Guido. If you cannot attend, we need to have another person volunteer to be the voting delegate. Okay, Mrs. Laws.
Are we sure it's on Tuesday? Because last year it was on Monday.
It was on Monday. We left on Tuesday, and I had it down Monday, 7:30.
Okay,
And I probably can attend Tuesday as well, so.
Okay.
But
All right,
It's loud.
now they have a delegate meeting before that, because they go through all the rules. Essentially, you're still
Voting is 1 p.m.
Right.
Was 1 p.m.
Okay.
The dates of the convention
It's the 18th through the 20th is the convention
of October.
of October. Okay, so delegate would be Ms. Guido, alternate Ms. Cloud. Okay?
Is anyone going to the law conference?
Yes, I.
Mr. Michael and Dr. Jacoby. Okay, all right. Thank you. Polling sites.
I put a memo in the email that I had with Ulster County Board of Elections, just to give you an idea of what
Change.
Well, we are going to the new machines in May, and there will be a higher cost because each location is going to need people that are trained by the Board of Election to monitor those machines. Plus, they have to program all those machines and transport all those machines to all the election sites. So I put the memo in there just to give you an idea because it pretty much doubled for one school district that had 1 polling site, another school district that had 2, and the cost doubled. So we have 7 polling sites. And, you know, I've been wanting for a long time to consolidate those polling sites. And for a lot of us, for a lot of our district, it's a lot about parking. So I didn't know how the board felt, and I thought we needed to discuss that because it is going to be a lot more expensive with these new machines. So,
do we have to have voting at the schools?
yes, I believe we do for a school board.
Is it the roll? The roll?
I know there's a lot of confusion around election day, of where people go because it doesn't always align with where.
No, we follow education law, not
Yeah.
election law.
Where your student might go to school in one school building, but you might vote in another.
Exactly,
But
so I
because
know-
the elections, the lines aren't attendance zone lines.
Yeah, so it seems to be a barrier towards voting.
Yeah, but there's nothing that we can do about that because the Board of Elections does the board and district cutoffs, and it doesn't align with our school attendance zones.
Usually before we have posted online, if you're, what district you're, what ward you're in, and then
Oh, yeah.
where you should
Aren't even
go.
aware.
Yes, a lot of people don't.
We're dead
That's
there.
the problem.
And then within a ward, the wards are split as well, so, but I just, if we're streamlining down to 3, we would just be combining wards then?
Yeah, we would put more wards and districts in less schools. So we would have less polling sites. So in other words, if you were part of, I don't know, Ward 6-1 and your normal place is Chambers and we eliminate Chambers, then you would be consolidated into something else.
But our district is so,
It's so, right, it's so large and, you know, most schools have their elections at the high school. We can't because of the parking situation.
Should have one actually, right? We should have one polling place, the high school.
It would be,
Can I do it?
in a perfect world, that would be a perfect answer, but it wouldn't work here. So maybe like the 2 middle schools, but I don't know the whole parking situation either, so.
Would it be, would the board, I think the point of this conversation is just kind of take the temperature.
Right.
If the board would like, Mr. Perna and I can put together a potential map of what it would look like, where a polling place would be, and what the costs would be compared to where we are now with cost, and then actually compared to what it would be if we kept our polling places and went to the new machines. And that way you could have some point of reference for this conversation. Would that
do we
be?
have to go to our machines?
We have to,
have to go to the
yes,
machines,
yes.
yes.
And this is not something that we can wait until the spring to change our mind on. It's something that we need to act on soon.
Well, I can't see everybody voting at the middle schools. It's at least a disaster to even park there.
Yeah, and I think we had that discussion
Yeah.
already as well.
I think we need to look at
Some
the
people
logistics of the
come
whole
and
thing and make a, you know, and show the board some possibilities. That way, you know, we're not just having this kind of, you know,
Yeah.
we're not gonna plan this right now.
But, I mean, voter turnout is an issue at the school election, so I'd hate to see anything become a further boundary, whereas, you know, if you get there, there's no parking spots, you just
I
leave.
think when you do redraw the lines and will that be ready for the next meeting or first one in
I
October?
think first one in October.
Okay, so
probably.
10/7 we'll add it to the calendar and we'll take a look at the cost.
Right.
And the other factors, yeah, the other factors, because we don't have a choice, we have to go to electronic ballot.
So that maybe now we'll be looking into 4 central voting places instead of 7.
Yeah, we'll come up with a
See
couple,
what the numbers are saying.
yeah, we'll come up with a couple of possibilities.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good, yeah.
Okay, so we'll look for that in the packet for the 7th. Great, that would be important.
Thank you, Mrs. Sherman.
The Teaching and Learning Committee report, I would like to postpone till the next meeting because they're meeting every other month and Dr. Kovowitz is not with us. And unfortunately, because of the change in the date, people got confused and didn't show up for the Teaching and Learning Committee meeting. I just happened to drop in, but I wasn't planning on giving the report, so. So if, with your indulgence, we'll wait until the next meeting, the 16th. And that means I can turn it over to Mrs. Collins and the Policy Committee.
Thank you. Policy Committee was actually very busy this summer. And the first question I have here is with DOE 16, which is the policy revision, but we passed that, did we not?
No.
9215, didn't we just vote on that?
No.
No, wait, this is on the
not
agenda
on.
for, the policy. What we just passed was an increase in salary.
Okay.
Nothing to do with the
All right,
policy.
thank you for that clarification. So that is the same policy, policy 9215, which deals with our non-aligned employees. We review it every year. And that policy, that revision of it, BOE 16, is attached revision reflects that salary increase with the caveat there, or the note that it does not take effect to people who were hired or promoted on or after June 30th, 2015. I just go over to. There was one issue that came up in discussion of the policy committee, which was on under salary, number 1, the longevity. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is the retirement. Mr. Shaughnessy, you had noted something on that.
I'm sorry, I failed to bold it, but if you'd like me to, you know, sure.
Yes, it's page 404. The non-aligned employee must have completed 15 years or more of service in the district at the effective date of his or her retirement. So I will move this policy forward so that we can have a discussion on it before proceeding to the rest of the committee's work, if that's okay? As long as it's seconded.
Mr. Shaughnessy, you want to second it?
Danielle already did.
She did.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion,
So I'm sorry, is there
the changes.
a change? You mentioned the change, the salary increase doesn't,
The salary increase that's not on the policy, that's a yearly,
Yeah.
it's not in the policy at all. What was changed in the policy was vacation approval.
Yes, if you remember, we discussed that, where someone taking subsequent days of vacation needs to get the appropriate approval so that we're not leaving certain offices unstaffed, particularly a lot of non-employees are in this building.
And also, it had been that the board president was,
Yes, and we deleted that
we removed that.
in
Yeah.
policy and committee.
Appropriate. They don't know how to get it right first place.
So that's at the bottom of page 10. You're looking at the use of vacation days to be subject to the approval of the employee's immediate supervisor up to 1 week. Superintendent's designate for 2 consecutive weeks, and the superintendent or designate for more than 2 weeks. That was one of the changes. The other change is one that I referred to earlier, which is the 15 years of accrued time to be able to retire. That received some discussion in committee as well.
And the other change was in paragraph, the first page, salary, under B, longevity, was
Yes.
changed from 1,000 to 1,200.
Thank you.
And then the other change was adding, or changing the title for, where is it? Yes,
Director of facilities.
yes, director of facilities too. And that was the only changes made to the policy.
Okay, any discussion? All right, been moved and seconded. No discussion? Call for vote. All those in favor of moving employees policy 9215, approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
The next policy, we have 2 policies for first readings this evening. First one is number 5100, which is student attendance. It's pretty basic. It was sent to us by NISBA, vetted by our assistant superintendent, Mr. Burge. Actually did a lot of work on that to make it conform with our needs. And then the other one is the wellness policy, 5405. That one was a little bit longer. It was drafted with the assistance with Sherry Ronco-Boses and Mr. Maish, our athletic director, as well as the wellness committee. A lot of people did a lot of work on this policy. We also had Mr. Corelli in for food service to address his part of the policy. So we did a lot of work, and then, as I said, we tried to make it consistent with our policies as far as wording, and both of those are up for first readings tonight, and they are attached.
Thank you, Mrs. Collins.
Okay, sorry, and Leslie, I'll just remind you, and I responded to your email late this afternoon, Mr. Carter, but at our last policy committee meeting, we agreed to meet on Friday the 11th, so since the 4th is a holiday, that's going to be our regular policy committee meeting. We're going to be discussing some work that Mr. David Clegg, attorney who's the head of the Human Rights Commission, had done and sent us on restorative justice. So we'll be beginning those discussions. And then we are going to meet again, hopefully, I have to Mr. Clegg confirm, on Friday, September 25th, where he will be meeting with our committee to continue that work.
Thank you very much. One thing I'd like to add here is encouraging the principals and any advisors of clubs to have non-food fundraisers if they can, so that they're in compliance with the wellness policy. Thank you. Okay. And now, old business. Before we get started, I open it up to other board members. We circulated the coffee and conversation sign up.
And we actually haven't circulated it, but it is here. If anybody wants to sign up.
We would sign up for one or more days if you really want to have a conversation. Anybody who told me, I put it on there. And then we'll get it up on the website. I think the first one is on the 9th of September.
Actually, I need a volunteer for that one.
We need a volunteer for the first date.
Is it Dominic?
Yes.
And it's at 8:30?
8 to 9.
8 to 9.
On what day? On the ninth?
On the 9th.
Volunteer for
Mr. Shaughnessy?
the Dominic.
Yes.
Put it in my
One of
calendar.
Putting it in your calendar?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
One
what.
of the dates, the one with the Barnes and Noble date, is one of the same day as the conference, the convention.
Yes. It's on the 20th?
Yeah.
I'll be back. Then you can go back, so I can do that one. I think I signed up for one.
I signed up.
And if I didn't,
It's at 12:30, I don't know what I was going to, maybe I didn't catch another line, but
All
okay.
right.
I'll put you in there if you don't mind.
Okay. We'll get it up and who volunteered to get up the website, and then we'll click on it. Okay, any other old business that any trustee would like to bring up now? Old business? All right, new business. We have, okay, resolutions. Yeah. Oh, there's two. Yeah. I don't have that. Okay. All right, I have two walk-in resolutions. The first one, resolution 15 CS09. Be it resolved upon recommendation of Dr. Paul J. Catalino, Superintendent of Schools, that the following be approved by the Board of Education. Appointments. Want to read one thing? Yeah. Every board member has one of these in front of you. It should have been on the table. It's two-sided. There's a resolution on the front and back. Want to take a look at it? Appointments, 1, 2, 3, 4 teaching assistants and change of status for 4 other people.
I'll move that.
Second. Okay, any discussion about that? All right, all those in favor of CSO 9, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, and the second one is 2015 P37, professional personnel. And this concerns leave of absence, unpaid. Entertain a motion?
I second. I'm sorry.
First.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All right, any discussion? Unpaid. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Any other new business? Any other new business?
Just make a comment.
Certainly.
Just quickly, I do want to Mr. Mike Moskowitz is our new Spanish teacher at Bailey, who's Point Saint. He is here with us, so I just wanted to welcome you and look forward to seeing you in action next week over at Bailey. So welcome.
Okay, any board member announcements? Board member announcements? Okay. And we're back at public participation. So anyone who'd like to address the board at this point, please come forward and speak to the microphone.
Thank you. I'm apologizing for being a little bit late. I missed the first public comment period, and I know you were discussing the Building a Better Broadway project. So that is what my comments are going to be directed to, and I will be brief, as I understand you're going to be meeting, having an agenda item next time at your next meeting. My name is Tom Polk. I'm a member of the Technical Advisory Committee to the Building a Better Broadway project. I'm also chairman of the city's Complete Streets Advisory Council, which is charged with developing streets and sidewalks that better serve the needs of the people of all ages and abilities to walk, bike, and drive safely. In my day job, I work as a volunteer at the YMCA on Broadway as a grant writer and bicycle educator. And I should note that I'm also the father of 2 children who attended Kingston High and am quite familiar with the parking and student drop-off situation at the school. Let me just briefly talk about the Building a Better Broadway draft plan and some of the key parts that I think you should be aware of. There's been a lot of attention focused on parking and the bike lanes, as there should be, but it's much more than that. Let me outline the major parts of the plan to give you a fuller picture of what is being proposed. So included in this plan are new traffic signals all along Broadway, state-of-the-art pedestrian safety features, including countdown timers, visual and audible cues for those who need them, sidewalk improvements, including what are called bump outs at several intersections, which basically mean the sidewalk will be a bumped out version of itself at the corner to give the pedestrians and the drivers more sight vision to make sure everyone sees when folks are crossing the road.
I forgot to tell you, 2 minutes.
Oh, geez.
Sorry.
I do have these comments in written form that I'd like to make available to the board members. And just to highlight what the superintendent mentioned, this is a preliminary draft. It will go to the Common Council of the City of Kingston later on this fall, which again will be public input, public comment, revisions, and then there will be opportunities before contracts are let and final designs are made for, again, additional comment and inclusiveness to get a plan that will meet the needs of everybody in town.
Thank you, Mr. Polk. You're welcome. Would you please leave the written version with our board clerk?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Are you coming back on the 16th?
I hope so, yes. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to address the board at this point? Okay. Well, having no need for a second executive session, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Meeting is adjourned.
I have my
Are you upstairs?